You know it's the end of the summer term when the glue sticks have no glue, the display borders are drooping, and everyone's patience is on its last wobbly legs. But before you sprint toward that well earned break, there are a few things worth doing that will make life a whole lot easier for whoever's walking into that classroom in September, even if it's you again. So, this is your practical, no nonsense, TA friendly end of summer term checklist. So you can wrap things up properly and leave school with your head clear of clutter and your to do list all ticked off. Well, mostly. 1. Sharpen, organise, box up, and clean out. Now, you're not Marie Kondoing the entire classroom, but there are some things you can do that make a big difference. So, sharpen pencils, chuck out the stubs. Future you will be very grateful. Organise whiteboard pens, bin the dried ones, because seriously, they are not coming back. Box up resources by topic or theme. Label clearly so nothing is a mystery in September. And clean out that TA drawer. You know, the drawer that is either your sanctuary or a dumping ground. It's time to reset. And a little mini tip, pop a post it on the front of each drawer or box with what's inside. It saves so much guesswork because you think you'll remember, but by September you won't. 2. Sort out student stuff. Now, the last few weeks of term equals an avalanche of worksheets, half done craft projects, and anonymous socks. So, here's how to stay on top of all of this. Clear out trays, folders, and drawers. Ask students to take home what's theirs or put what they don't want in the bin. Create a save pile, any standout work, progress, evidence, or notes that might be useful next year. Check SEND and intervention folders, tidy them, ensure they're up to date, and leave a quick summary if needed. And a little tip, if you've been supporting a particular child and you haven't been asked for feedback yet, pop a note in their file or leave one for the Senko that summarises what worked well, because your insight is gold dust. 3. Make notes for future you or the next TA. The end of term is a brilliant moment to reflect and record on what's worked and what hasn't. So, for instance, behaviour tips. Which children need gentle starts? Who thrives on routine? Who really can't sit next to who? Learning quirks. Which strategies helped certain pupils grasp things? Who needs visual cues? Who responds well to humour? General reminders. Where the glue sticks are kept. How the teacher prefers displays done. And how the photocopier reacts to kindness. And a little tip, leave a TA tips note somewhere, safe, like in a drawer or a planner that you regularly use, because you'll thank yourself later, and you really will, because your brain will struggle to get started with everything come September. You know, you think you're going to remember it all. That's because your brain's in the flow, the mode, and everything, because you've been doing it for months and months and months. In September, after the switch off in August, you'll come back and your brain will be sluggish. So you will really thank yourself for just keeping little notes to remind yourself. 4. Have one last chat with the teacher. Now, this doesn't have to be formal, but it's a great idea to check in before you both disappear into holiday mode. So, is there anything they'd like you to prep or leave out for September? Are you leaving any resources mid-project that someone else needs to know about? What worked well this year that they'd like to do again? And if the teacher's frazzled, write it down and pop it in their tray, because quiet clarity is a huge help. And if you're not going to be with the same teacher, just go and check in and say hello to the teacher that you're going to be working with in September. It makes a big difference. Otherwise there's that slight anxiety. What are they like? Just pop in, say hello, tell them you're looking forward to working with them, and ask them the questions that I've just said. It will help the two of you sort of bond, for the want of a better word. Now, the great debate, save, shred, or bin. It is the TA paperwork decision. So, things you'd want to keep are evidence of student progress, SEND notes that you're asked to log, safeguarding concern follow ups. I mean, those should be on CPOMs or something like that. There really shouldn't be any safeguarding stuff that's actually sort of written down on a piece of paper somewhere. That's a big no no. Activity ideas you might use. Things that must be shredded. Personal notes not needed. Anything with sensitive data not being kept. And I would say anything with names on, just shred it. All right. Better to be safe than sorry. But anything that does not identify students or staff or contains sensitive data that isn't being kept can be put in the bin. I say that, always check with your school what their policy is, and it's important, if in doubt, ask. Safeguarding notes and sensitive info must follow school policy. And as I say, safeguarding, most all schools should have their safeguarding information on the online now. It just shouldn't be on pieces of paper. But if it is on pieces of paper, then find out what the safeguarding lead wants you to do with it. Is it to be kept? In which case, it should be somewhere under lock and key, because all that's confidential. If it's not to be kept, then it should be shredded. And this is a little optional add-ons, things that feel huge in September. So if you want to be extra kind to yourself or the next TA in your classroom, relabel all the drawers and trays you use regularly. Leave a spare glue stick stash, that's not easy to say, somewhere hidden. It's a future gold mine, unless you're going to get into trouble for it. Don't do it if you're going to get into trouble. But it's always useful to have a spare stash of glue sticks, pencils, that kind of thing, and whiteboard pens. Note the actual, now this is controversial, note the actual login for that impossible school software system. Now, obviously, your ICT technician will probably have kittens at hearing me say this. Write it in code or something. Write it where someone can't find it. But it's a real pain if you can't remember. When you start again in September and you can't remember stuff like that, it's a real pain. So write it in code. That's what I used to do. It was never a problem, but don't tell your ICT technician I said. And stick a "you've got this" note somewhere where you're going to see it the first week back, either you or the next TA. You don't need to do everything. You just need to leave things better than you found them and take your wisdom with you. And leave a comment if there's something you always do at the end of term that others might not think of, because we're all learning together. I mean, I haven't mentioned lost property. I was in one school where that would be a big thing. Lost property would all be sorted out and stuff would be, finally go home to hopefully to the right students. And other sort of clothing items that were uniform that weren't identified as being somebody's was put in the sort of stock that could be used for those that forget a jumper or something and they're going to have their photograph taken, that kind of thing. Okay, and I'd love it if you'd give this video a like, please. It will help get it out to the TAs who need it, which is what we want. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for your support.